Hello again, YouTube. This is your box of hobo. And guess what? It's that time again. It's time for me to make some enemies. Why? Because your box has an opinion. Now, to set the record clear, I usually don't make rants. I actually do not like conflict, and I'm aware that whenever you put a video strongly wording your own opinion, there are people who feel challenged by that opinion, or heavily disagree with that opinion, and their immediate response is to attack or troll you for that opinion. I have a lot of trolls, and aren't they just darling? They get me all these cool channel views and stuff, but I'm not here to rile anybody's anger. I'm here to say something that's been on my mind, and has been bothering me for a while. See, if it doesn't bother me too much, I won't make a video about it, but it's just something I've been stewing on, and I feel like I had to get it off my chest, so it's that time again. I am a huge fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So naturally, whenever I heard they were going to make a second series, I lost my shit. The Legend of Korra. It's a mini-series. It's running right now. And I have to warn you, what I'm about to say spoils a lot of what happened so far. So if you haven't seen all of the episodes to date, I would not watch this video. Besides, you might not agree with me, and you can click off now before you get your panties in a bunch, because here I go. My first and primary problem with Korra was the pacing. I felt like everything was going too fast, and at some points, it seemed like it was going too slow. But then I was reminded it was a mini-series. Of course things are going to be going too fast. And I excused it. It's okay with me now. I know not to harp too much on the lack of character development in some places, because they're doing the best they can. That said, I was just minding my own business, piddling through the series, and starting to grow bored, actually, of all this love triangle bullshit. Because as interesting as Korra's love life is, I would like to see more action. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, came episode 8. Grandmaster Popo and I watched episode 8 together, and by the end of it, both of us were shrieking in sheer shock and surprise. Nothing we had seen before had prepared us for this, and it was the biggest plot twist I've ever seen so far. Councilman Tarlok is a bloodbender. Not just a bloodbender, an extremely skilled one, as he can bend blood without a full moon. He gets into a fight with Korra and ends up having to kidnap her to cover up the things he's done. And then he tries to blame the Equalists for kidnapping her, and sets it up to look like they had been attacked by Equalists. But the point is, it just came out of nowhere, of all the people. Tarlok? Really? I never pinned him for a crazy good waterbender, or even a bloodbender. I was amazed, I was shocked, and then I was just like, I could not wait for episode 9. I was like, what on earth is going to happen? Korra's been taken out of Republic City. He said a place where no one will ever find her. Maybe we'll get to see the outside world. Hell, maybe we'll get to go outside of Republic City and see how much of the Avatar world has changed over 70 years. I was so excited. The possibilities, they were limitless. And then episode 9 came. Episode 9 infuriated me, to the point where I almost considered quitting The Legend of Korra permanently, because I heavily disagreed with everything that happened in episode 9. And this is, to date, my only and my biggest problem with Legend of Korra. Let me explain. Korra has been kidnapped and taken outside of Republic City, and put into a metal box in Tarlok's basement somewhere. I have no idea where. He says the Equalists have taken her, we have to go save her and stuff, and it's all good. You knew he was going to lie about it. But then, for the stupidest reason, they find out that Tarlok is a bloodbender. They go to rescue her from the Equalists, Tenzin, Lin, Asami, Mako, and Bolin, and they say, we don't have her, Tarlok's lying. And then Tenzin's like, oh my god, Tarlok has her. And that's my first problem. That happened way too fast. We couldn't hide that Tarlok was a bloodbender a little longer. Keep the suspense going. I knew everyone was going to find out eventually, but wow, guys, that happened a little too fast. And then they go to arrest Tarlok, and Tarlok has to defend himself and bloodbends the entire room in the middle of broad daylight. That was bad ass. But now Tarlok's on the run, and again, I thought this happened way too quickly. This is happening way too quickly for my taste. Tarlok goes back to find Korra, who has been meditating, and she reaches Aang. Now, Aang has been trying to tell her something this entire series, and she finally figures out what it is. And you know what it is? It's not fucking important at all. The flashbacks, if you remember, began in the voice of the night. I mean, Korra gets knocked out by Amon, and then she sees flashes of what looks like adult Aang, adult Toph, and this person we don't know about. And every time she goes into like real emotional stress or pain, mostly caused by equals, she gets hints and pieces of this flashback. And whatever it is, it looks like it's serious. We can see people's arms bending weirdly. We see this psychopath with these eyes that are amazing. I love his eyes so much. And we see Aang is forced into the Avatar state. And I'm all like, what is this? This must be some serious shit. You know, is it something about Amon? No, it's not about Amon. She got all the flashes when she was being attacked by Equalist, but it wasn't about Amon. No, this entire time, Aang thought it was really important to let Korra know that Tarlok was a bloodbender, because the man in the flashback, Yakone, was a bloodbender, and a very powerful one at that. This is where the problems start with me. Why was it important that Tarlok was a bloodbender if he didn't even plan to bend anyone's blood to begin with? His initial plan, from the looks of it, was to talk his way into the heart of the people of Republic City, to become their hero, to become their savior. Tarlok was a messy politician. He did underhanded things. He was sneaky and conniving. But the blood bending was not important at all until after he kidnapped Korra. So thank you, Aang. Thank you for that really unimportant message. You know, why don't you tell her something about Amon? Or something that was relevant at the time? It's like, hey Korra, you know that person who's all the way the fuck over there? He's a bloodbender. I just thought you should know that. Good luck with the guy who can friggin' block chi. Spirit bending, whatever they call it. And, that explains why Tarlok's a bloodbender, because he's Yakone's son, and Yakone was a bloodbender. Except that doesn't explain anything at all, because bending is not genetic. It is not. That's what they established in the first series. I clearly remember in one episode about the volcano in the village with Spirit Medium. They're twins. And one of them says, I'm an earthbender, and the other one says, I'm not. Bending is not genetic. That does not explain how Tarlok can bloodbend without a full moon. And that sure as fuck does not explain how Yakone can bloodbend with his mind. That guy, he was not moving his hands. He was handcuffed, and he had the entire room on their knees. Handcuffed. And you would imagine an enemy that powerful, an enemy that frightening, would amount to something. Would mean something. But no, it got resolved in like 5 seconds because Aang went into Avatar state and took his bending. In the same day that all of this happened. That wasn't important at all. That was a highlight of Aang's day, maybe, but that sure as hell would not go down in history. You know, the 1 day threat? Really? And then, and just like father, like son, Tarlok is a fearsome bloodbender. He's clearly a skilled bender. You know, he's trouble for Korra and everyone, and then guess who shows up? Amon does. And, Tarlok bloodbends, and it looks like a full moon out this night. He bloodbends everyone, but Amon keeps coming. Why? I have no idea. And Amon takes Tarlok's bending. And then he kidnaps Tarlok, and that's probably the last we'll ever see of him. He tries to get Korra, but Korra escapes. And that's really not even what I'm worried about right now. I just couldn't believe it. And there goes the episode. Goodbye. Goodbye, interesting, maybe, subplot we could have had there. Goodbye, new developments. Goodbye, any surprises the series would have. We're right back on track. Right back where we needed to be. Watching him on do shit and largely affecting nothing in the battle against him. I'm glad we got the interesting shit out of the way. And I'm glad that we can all accept that Yakone's bloodbending, he could do that with his mind because he's special. Yeah, it's because he's special. And, you know, Tarlok can do it too because he's special too. But not anymore because his bending's taken away. If you couldn't guess, I'm actually pretty pissed off about that. I was so excited about this whole bloodbending thing. It looked amazing. I didn't see this coming at all. I was wondering how exactly did did Yukon force Aang into the Avatar state? How bad of a threat was this guy? Oh, he was a bad threat. He was amazing. But he was, neutralized like 5 seconds. And Tarlok, he was amazing. He came out of nowhere. He was something exciting and new. But then he was taken care of in the very next episode. And it just screams of missed opportunities to me. It just screams... There's so many things that they could have done with this. Why did they end it so quickly? Why did they do that? It's good to know that Amon can't be bloodbending even on a full moon, which I have a new theory. Now I think Amon is a reanimated corpse. I'm not even fucking with you guys. And, that's probably a really stupid theory. But you know what? At this point, I don't care. At this point, I actually have lost some love for Amon. Like, I don't hate him, but I don't really see him as a character anymore. He's just a big brick wall with bad guy painted on him. You can't beat it. You can't get around it. It's big and scary. And that's it. Amon is a brick wall with the word bad guy painted on it. He's ridiculously hard to deal with. Whatever. At least we didn't even get into Tarlok's childhood, how he learned to bloodbend, because unlike his father, he apparently can't do it with his mind. Also, if Tarlok is 37 and Yukon had his bending taken away 40 years ago, and presumably arrested, how did he have Tarlok? Was he allowed to get married and have sex in jail? Because I'm assuming Aang did not just take this guy's bending and go, alright, you can go home now. That doesn't work. Did he fuck someone in jail and get them pregnant? Excuse my language, but how was Tarlok born? How did he escape his father? How did he start his new life? Is Tarlok even his real name? Was that his birth name? So much shit. And the worst part is, I'm the only person who cares. I have her on my corners of the internet, I will say, because maybe there are people who agree with me, and if you do, I am so glad to hear you are out there, because I am outnumbered by people who only mention Tarlok with hate. They don't see how he could have been an interesting character. They don't see how he could have really turned the tables on this. They didn't see how he could have really mixed things up. All they see is, oh, boo-hoo, he kidnapped Korra. He must die. Fuck Tarlok, he's a fucking douche. He must die. Fuck Tarlok. Fuck Tarlok. You know what? Korra's fine, everybody. She was rescued the next episode. She was literally gone maybe overnight. I think she's fine. I think Korra is going to be fine. And you know what? Due to recent development, Amon took Lin Beifong's bending away. Lin, our beloved Lin. And I sincerely hope that all the hate you dug up for Tarlok, you pour on Amon, because I think he deserves it more than Tarlok. But we'll just have to see how that goes. And that's all I have to say. My biggest problem was how quickly the bloodbending saga was introduced and then ended. I thought that had real potential. I thought Yukon had real potential to be a fearsome foe. I thought Tarlok had potential to be a fearsome foe, and all of that got thrown away. All of that got thrown away very quickly. That's all I have to say. If you disagree with me, I can't say I'm surprised. And if you agree with me, it's good to know that some other people are out there. This is your box of hobo saying, bring on the rain.